So in the first one, we took a look at what we could do for auditing an incident response to a malware attack. In this part, we're going to take a look at attacking and also defending the Windows XP box and what an investigation would look like on that end. We basically had the same outlook on the malware side, and again, this is going to be on the attack side. An exploit could be something that's remote, or it could be something that they download, and it opens up the realm of possibilities to an attack. So I'm not going to go too much into what we did in this aspect, so I'm going to jump right into how we unpack an attack and all that good stuff. Let's get into it. So we jump back on the box and we're making sure certain things align for us to do this type of attack, and then I'll probably go in and explain what it is and why it is we're doing it. So with that said and done, let's bust out with... Shut up, Windows. Wireshark. And we'll start a capture analysis on this bad boy. And we'll say start. And a bunch of crap is going to come up. So we logged into one of my other boxes that I do the attack scanning on. And what we're going to do is launch an Nmap scan against this host to find out what ports are open. So we're going to do it like this. And while the Nmap scan is running, you'll probably see this light up insanely. So the Nmap scan's basically been completed, and we see that we have a bunch of open ports. We're going to focus on MSRPC because we're going to launch an exploit against the box. And just before we get into all of it, I'm just going to run down through what the Nmap scan basically is, and that's up here. So doing the SYN scan, the reason why we start out with a SYN scan is... most firewalls are configured to have the SYN packet checked, because if it doesn't come with a SYN packet, they'll probably drop it. TAC is basically a port scan from the first port all the way up to the last port on the specified host, 10.0.1 to 11. We're going to print it out with verbosity, and we're also going to do a service version, or service info on this, and that's basically going to dump out all the service data you see here. And it's also going to dig to see if it could fingerprint it and what operating system it might be. And in this case, we see that it's coming back as Windows XP, and all that cute fun stuff. So, Wireshark decided to crash because I'm pretty sure from the last example that I ran with all of the auditing that I'm doing, the system resources are rather limited. Let's get Wireshark up and running again. Oh, what am I doing? I'm going to have this at the ready. So what I'm going to end up doing is we're going to fire up Metasploit Framework. So we're at the point in this example where we're going to discuss how we break into the Windows XP machine. And we're going to do so with an MSRPC DCOM exploit. Okay, so one of the tools that we're going to go and look at is going to be Searchsploit. And that's going to help us find some exploits. So being that it's MSRPC DCOM, we're going to do Searchsploit, and then we're going to do Windows RPC, and we see we get a few exploits that come back. RPC DCOM Remote, Windows XP. This is probably or might be the exploit that we're looking to run, but for simplicity, we're going to do this through Metasploit, so let's take a look at that. So we're going to load Metasploit console. Okay, so this is the one we're going to use. So we're going to copy this. And then we'll do use exploit. So we're going to keep this at the shell that's suggested. The reason being is that when I was attempting to use the interpreter previously, it wasn't running and it was dying. So now we're going to go back to the Windows XP instance. And we're going to load up Wireshark. and we're going to start a packet capture analysis. And then what we're going to do is show options, and then we'll do the L host. We're on the Wi-Fi. Set L host, and then you'll see it gets my non-routable IP. And if we do show options again, we can scroll up, and we're going to set the R host. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to stop this. I'll restart it again. So we're going to set the R host at 10.0.1.2.11. And then I'm going to run back into this, and then what we're going to do is start capturing again. And then what we'll do is we'll pop the box. Okay, so now we have a shell on the box. If we do IP config, we see that we are 10.0.1.2.11. Now, I'm not going to go too much into what we do on the box as far as priv escalation is concerned, because that's neither here nor there. The purpose of this is to help find an attacker that exploits the box. So, just like we did previously, if we do a netstat, we can see 444 is open and it leads back to our attacking machine. And if we want to get crazy in Wireshark, we could do IP adder equals 10.0.2.243. And we can see all the traffic. And we can start stepping through. And then you could even go down and see the shell, which is present right here. I'll zoom in on it. You can see that we have a return shell, Windows System 32. And then at some point, there it goes. You'll see me issue the IP config. And if I continued running this, what you'll end up seeing is whatever commands that I issue. Let's say all of these commands that I'm issuing, they will end up returning in the packet capture dump. I might do some exercises later on for you guys to track and put together kind of like incident response / forensics report to see what an attacker did when they exploit the box. But normally what's going to end up happening is you will fall back on your netstat if the attacker hasn't already run up and put a rootkit on the system. So if we want to get brazen, we could do is attempt to kill access to 684. And then you'll see it makes the system unstable. So now what's going to end up happening is once the system reboots and we get a nice little edit going, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you some other things that we can do on the box, how we can start investigating this. Okay, so what I've gone ahead and done is I've launched an exploit again against the remote system. You see we have system 32. I've wasted a little time creating a PCAP file that I'd appreciate if you guys look through if you want to gain the experience, and you could comment what I've done in the session by doing an analysis on the PCAP file. And if anybody wants to go through the PCAP file, maybe I'll put one together or I'll do it on the Discord. So we can see that the exploit itself has been run against the service that we want to exploit, MSRPC DCOM. And you can see that it's going back to my box that I connected to via Wi-Fi and then exploited this one. So you see it's 684. If we look in the event viewer, we exploited the system at 1:13:21, and you see that command exe was actually executed. You see it was a process was created. Now what's interesting about this is that it's being shoveled to 444. So if we look at the process ID, the creating process is 684, and if we look on this line here, you see 684. So telltale sign something's not right, and of course it's going back. Now this is if you're on the active box, or you know what time the exploit was run, or you see something in your event logs on your SIEM, you can start digging through event viewer itself. So we could copy this whole thing out, and you could kind of get an idea of, you know, the process that created it. We know is 684, and we have 1372, which is a new process, and we also have the event ID of 592. So that's something that we can look at or export. So we'd probably want to grab screenshots of all of this and then just walk the event viewer just to see what other suspect activity we might find. So I'll go through that really quick. I'll probably speed this up and then pivot somewhere else after this. Another thing that I want to mention as I'm going through this is if you have the availability of dumping the memory on the remote host, and I know this is an older operating system, a lot of tools might not be available for it anymore. If your environment does have something where you could dump the running programs and all the memory so you could analyze it in something like volatility, I would advise doing so because you might see more. In fact, you will see more with a tool like Volatility and FTK Imager if you grab a memory dump. And that is something that you could do offline. So with that, what we're also going to take a look at is the system around 133, I think it was. 113. And our log probably wrapped. And not much in this instance that we would need to take a look at. So we just have the information that from the security log that we would take a screenshot of, and I already took a screenshot of that, so it's not a problem. I'll probably include that somewhere in the zip files. So you kind of get an idea of what you would look at. Pivoting around, if you, again, like in the examples that we did, if we go in and we go with all files and directories, let's do between today and today. Am I in? Yeah, it helps if we do C drive. I'm not going to go too much in detail. I'll take a screenshot of this and you can go through it yourself and you can kind of see. But there were certain things that I've done in the PCAP dump, and you're actually seeing some of it here right now, and you can kind of gauge how long I was working on this. And just for the hell of it, I'll move this just like that so I can get all the dates and stuff in it, or I'll pan and you can use this with the PCAP that I'm giving you. If you're astute enough to figure it out, and I'll probably post this at some later time or do this in the Discord server if you want to join me and take a look at it, that's fine. I'll post this somewhere else that we could go through the analysis. One of the other things I really want to show you is when you're on a system, what you could do is in Wireshark, this might be a little bit different in newer versions, but if you click on capture and you click on capture filters, you could create your own capture filters. And also, I believe it's interfaces. Nope, wait. It's in options, double click your interface, and then you could create a capture filter. In this case, we've done host, and then we did the IP address of the attacking machine, which was 10.0.2.243. And that only filtered traffic based on that system. So if I go back to the system and I issue a who am I, which is probably not going to work. Which I might not be on the box anymore. So let's do this again. There you go. So it's only showing traffic from the system that I'm exploiting from. So if I go back in and I do who am I or dir or an IP config, and we go back to the packet capture, and we'll stop this. If we step through this, you'll see this is the dir command. It's sending all the it's basically this portion here. So if we go, where are we here? You see the IP config down there, and it's all the stuff that we covered before. So you kind of zoom in on a specific IP address at the time of start, so you can filter out all of the crap. I've done that with the packet capture analysis that I've provided, and then based on on this, we would basically put together an incident response with the netstat, possibly some other tools in Wimic. I don't want to go too much into the weeds with Windows XP because there's not a lot of tools available. And just this information here alone and the process that was spawned and the stuff that we found in the find command is pretty much a smoking gun enough that we should be re-imaging this box and also moving off of the box and looking at the SIEM to find out what and where the attacker may have come from and if there's other systems on the network that we would have to look at. Okay, so this is like the 9th time that I'm actually recording this, and hopefully we get somewhere with this. So we issued the exploit against the remote target, and I want you to pay close attention to this file name and when it was deleted. And then I'm going to show you how to do some forensic stuff on the other side of this. So we can see from the start, an anonymous login is requested, and then all of a sudden we see that a process is created. So this right here would be some type of evidence that we would collect. We'd also want to copy the event ID of 601. Then if we continue down the path, we see that the exploit is continuing to run, and we have a new process of 1888. Okay, that's fine and dandy. Still 1888. Another thing I want to point out is, let's try to find this process. If I could type. And you see it's been deleted. I'll zoom in on that. And just for verification purposes, I'll pop this over here. And then what I will do is OQW, and you see there's nothing there. So if we continue down and we do a netstat, we see that there's a connection established on. So there's a connection on 2380. So we will keep going until we can isolate 2380. Here it is again. We see another event ID of 593. Then you see the anonymous login. Privilege use has been recorded, which is event ID 577. That was on that set that we executed. I don't think past this we're going to see anything of use. And just for the hell of it, let's search for PID 2380. Okay, I must have missed this one. Here you go. New process created 2380. Now, I'm probably going to load up, maybe off camera, the volatility and FTK imager to pull some stuff out of memory. But you can see we are actually on the remote box. We can track this back. We could even type in, if we see that there's an active exploit or our SIEM pings that something is communicating out, we could look at the processes that were created, and in this instance we tracked a fair bit of information that can be used to support that someone may have run an exploit against the box. The other important thing is I'm going to show you how to do the forensics on a virtual machine or even a disk to recover those files so you can see exactly what was sent when the exploit was run. Because if we go back up, we kind of have some access that might be going out. They may have started a new process. They may have done a bunch of other stuff. We don't know. So looking at the auditing of the system, we'd be able to figure that out. One of the things that we want to do in forensics is we want to obtain any of the tools that they used. This goes back to TTPs. So when we discuss TTPs, if we could recover the tools and the process that the attacker is using, we could understand them better, and we could build better defenses. With that, I'm going to end the video at this mark. I'll probably post some information about how to pull some IDs from the SIEM. We had problems with it, so I'm going to circle back and do that in potential part 3. As always, if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.